Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing what's been easily my favorite Ultra League team so far this season. This team has provided me incredibly consistent results every time that I've used it, and is built around Shadow Scizor as the lead, with two Pokemon in the back with unexpected nuke moves that can cause chaos. On the save switch, I have Kyurem, but it's running Draco Meteor over Dragon Claw to really try and punish opponents clicking no shield. And as the closer, I'm running non-Shadow Swampert, and it's running Earthquake over Sludge for shields down nukes into Pokemon like Bellibolt. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. And in game number 1, we're actually off to a pretty rough start, leading Shadow Scizor into Empoleon. Empoleon is a core breaker as it beats both Scizor and Kyurem. Here, I do get a prediction right, and I'm able to catch the Hydro Cannon onto Swampert. That is a very good start. Empoleon rebanks a move, and out comes Como-O. Como-O is normally going to be able to shrug off Sludges no problem, but a same type attack bonus, Earthquake, will inflict some pretty significant damage. Landing that is great. I'm more than happy just to let the Swampert go. Upper hand, it looks like there was a slight undercharge there to get a pretty nice farm down. So my opponent does exit with an upper hand loaded. I send in Kyurem as my opponent is going to immediately throw the upper hand, and now I'm going to send in Scizor. But it's a simultaneous switch, Scizor into Empoleon, my opponent recognizing my play and realizing they cannot afford to give me any more farm. I'm now boosted and I'm going to be putting up the shield. I can try and go for a bullet punch down, but these bullet punches, even though they're boosted, are double resisted. So I decide not to CMP tie. Instead, I'm just full committing to the farm down, and I do get it. So I'm down 2 shields, but I'm boosted. I basically have 100 energy, and in the back, my opponent reveals Runerigus. Runerigus puts up a shield. I farm up, going for another Night Slash. Boosted Night Slashes are going to hurt. That Night Slash is going to land. I'm able to get to a third Night Slash as well, and this will be grabbing the shield. I have to watch for a potential switch out here. It's a simultaneous switch, Como-O into the Kyurem. They do have the Rock Tomb loaded on the Runerigus. This will be able to take the knockout. It all comes down to this. Can I survive a Shadow Claw? Yes, I can. And we're able to escape with a 1 HP win. Terrible lead in the next match. Shadow Scizor into Turtonator. Oh, but it's actually an Ember Turtonator. I was not expecting Ember. I was expecting Incinerate on the Turtonator. The fact that it's Ember, honestly, Scizor probably doesn't even do that poorly into that matchup. My opponent goes for the Dragon Claw, and I put up the shield because even though the Dragon Claw was already debuffed, Dragon Claw is still a very efficient attack now. Out comes Corviknight. Corviknight going to be immediately debuffed with Glaciate, and they went straight for the Air Cutter. Air Cutter already doesn't do a whole lot of damage, so now I can look to bank some energy and then send back in the Scizor. Corviknight, Air Cutter is going to connect, and now it's time. In comes Scizor. They're going to farm up quite a bit of energy. They do need to throw a charge attack to burn this switch timer. Air Cutter connects, doing basically no damage, and out comes Turtonator. And those Embers, they do not look double super effective. I'm at the back-to-back Night Slashes, which means if they want to shield, they're going to have to shield twice. They elect to let it go. In comes Corviknight. I overfarmed too much, and that's going to cost me a shield. That is a pretty big misplay by me. I'm able to get the back-to-back Night Slashes, but they're not in a range where Night Slash will KO. Night Slash is going to land. I switch into the Kyurem. I realize I cannot get the Dragon Breath down before they're able to get the Air Cutter, so I go for the Glaciate. Glaciate lands. Whatever's in back is going to be debuffed, and it's going to be Shadow Dusknoir. I'm going to get to apply a permanent debuff to the Dusknoir, but this is still going to be a very tricky endgame. The things I have going for me are the debuff lowering their attack, and the fact that I have a Night Slash banked on the Shadow Scizor. Dusknoir is going to get to connect with a Dynamic Punch. That's big damage. I throw the Hydro Cannon here, and this is what this game comes down to. Do they undertap? I say yes. I switch into the Scizor and get the CMP sack swap. That instantly ends the game. They let the Night Slash go, and we're able to take the win. Hopping into the next match, and unfortunately, it's another bad lead for Shadow Scizor. So I save switch into Kyurem. Opponent farms up quite a bit of energy and sends in Florges. With an energy head start, Kyurem can make Florges' life very uncomfortable. Glaciate applies the debuff, and they don't even build up to the Moonblast. This is only a Chilling Water. I know shield, and it's a Trailblaze, and I'm left a little bit confused. Chilling Water plus Trailblaze is a very common moveset in the Great League where Pokemon are very glassy, but in the Ultra League, Pokemon are very bulky, so I think you actually need the damage of Moonblast in this meta. They go for yet another Trailblaze, and they are just getting absolutely crushed by Kyurem in this matchup. Kyurem's Glaciate will take the knockout unless they put up the shield. Florges gonna try and farm down, but they cannot. Kyurem's gonna get both shields or switch advantage. Kyurem, what an absolute beast. In comes Shadow Scizor, and at this point, I'm feeling confident as I'm up 2 shields to 0. Scizor gets the farm down. In comes Stunfisk. I send in Swampert. In the back is Venusaur, and I've been perfectly hard countered. But I can still win this game by clicking no shield. If they knock me out with a Frenzy Plant, I just farm all the way down to Scizor, so they throw the Sludge. That's a pretty heads up play from them, recognizing that if they knock me out with a Frenzy Plant, they instantly lose the game. So instead they go for the Sludge and farm. I send in the Scizor, Bullet Punch goes through, and I know that I double resist everything, so I'm going to be no shielding the Frenzy Plant. In comes Stunfisk, Switch Clog just came up, and I have to get to a Trailblaze plus a Night Slash. Despite the fact that the alignment was absolutely awful in this game, it looks like I'm going to emerge as the victor. It's going to be close, a race to the finish, but I get the Night Slash before they get the double up on Mud Bombs. They needed 1 for the shield and 1 to take the knockout. Scizor farms down Venusaur and takes the win. Great lead in the next match, leading into Togekiss. Opponent safe switches into Hippowdon. Oh, look at the spice. People at 3000 ELO Ultra League, they are bringing some very cool teams. Como-O, Hippowdon, my goodness. Hippowdon puts up an early shield, and I no shield as they return fire with the Scorching Sands. Scorching Sands landing means that they can now grab shields with Weather Ball Rock. I will put up a shield because switch advantage is pretty nice here. Look to overfarm, go for the Hydro, and they make a very nice catch. They take advantage of the desync in the switch timers to catch onto the Togekiss. Back in comes Scizor going to overfarm and play to the charge attack priority tie. Trailblaze is resisted, but they're low enough that it will knock them out. Back in comes Hippowdon, and I decide that I'm not done with Shadow Scizor. I really want to try and force their final shield or just take the knockout, because in the zeros, I trust in Kyurem's ability to Draco Meteor something. Whatever they have in back is clearly not a big fan of Scizor, as they put up the shield and take the knockout. In comes Kyurem, oh my goodness, in the back is Shadow Torterra, and they will resign the match. Tough lead in the next match, Shadow Scizor into Swampert. I'm going to farm up, switch into Kyurem. We'll have to see, did my opponent react in time to throw the Sludge? No, they did not. It is going to be a Hydro Cannon. Swampert staying in this matchup, probably feeling pretty comfortable in the fact that I can't really Dragon Breath him into Glaciate range. Sludge lands, that does get me very, very low. I know Glaciate will not knock out, so I'm just going to full send the Draco Meteor. Draco Meteor is able to land, and down goes Swampert. Out comes Corviknight. My attack is very heavily debuffed by firing off that Draco Meteor. Glaciate lands, and I decide to play aggressively as I pivot into the Shadow Scizor. Scizor doesn't have a great matchup into the Corviknight, but oftentimes I don't like to reveal the Swampert until the absolute last moment that I have to, and it appears that's going to pay off, as in the back they have a Belly Bolt. This is a Thundershock Belly Bolt, which means they're going to have lightning fast pacing, spamming out these parabolic charges. One good thing about me throwing a move onto the Corviknight before they brought in the Belly Bolt is the fact that the switch clocks are now misaligned. So after Night Slash is able to grab the shield, I can send in Swampert and they're forced to throw the Parabolic to burn the timer. So that forces them to use their energy inefficiently. Back in comes the Corviknight. Corviknight has so much loaded energy at this point of the game. Hydro Cannon does get the shield, but unfortunately they're still not at a range where Hydro Cannon will knock out. I no shield just in case they Air Cutter and get the boost, but instead it's going to be a payback. Now I'm forced to shield Air Cutters, which is really not great. Switch timers up, in comes Scizor. I'm counting on the fact that I don't think I'm in Air Cutter range. Air Cutter is very fast, but it does not hit for a lot of damage, and they are not. In comes Belly Bolt, and I'm able to get the Night Slash. Night Slash lands, that's going to put them into farm down range for the Swampert. And now Swampert will get to take the win with a Hydro Cannon. This Hydro Cannon won't knock out, but it should put them into Mudshot down range. That was a very, very close game on an absolute razor's edge, but luckily, thanks to Swampert, we're able to take the win. We've got some spice on the lead from the opponent in the next match, leading Shadow Scizor into Shadow Galvantula. Maybe I should have just immediately brought in the Kyurem, but honestly I was so shocked to see a Shadow Galvantula that I stay in, and I'm rewarded for that decision as Shadow Scizor gets the Night Slash boost. Now we're at +2 attack. Opponent takes us down to +1 attack immediately with the lunge, but even so, these bullet punches are still doing a lot of damage. they will get a farm down, but they take a heavy toll as they've lost basically their entire Galvantula and both shields. I send in the Swampert to absorb energy because I'm trusting in the fact that Kyurem will be able to sweep this endgame for me. In comes Gastrodon, I send in Kyurem, out comes Shadow Drapion, and it's Draco Meteor time. I want to keep the Kyurem as healthy as I possibly can because typically Gastrodon is going to be on Water Pulse, and if they're on Water Pulse Body Slam, then it's very tough for them to deal large amounts of charge attack damage to Kyurem with their Gastrodon. Draco Meteor lands, picking up the knockout, in comes Gastrodon, and now I get to go for a -2 Draco Meteor. This Draco Meteor is going to land, quick switch into the Swampert with the Hydro Cannon. The combo play is going to seal this game as Hydro KOs that Gastrodon. Hopping into the next match, leading Shadow Scizor into Dusknoir. Not the best lead, not the worst, but at the very least you have a pacing advantage over the Dusknoir. You can spam out Night Slashes and always guarantee that you're able to get some kind of advantage, whether it's shield or switch advantage. But here, I decided to test a different play pattern. I go for the Trailblaze, and this is just absolutely not the right play to go for, because even though you boost up your Bullet Punch damage, I'm now at a shield disadvantage, which is not an amazing spot to be in, considering that this team is built upon having a backline where I can try and land nuke moves. Well, if they still have a shield, that's going to get substantially more difficult. Out comes a Volt Switch Fortress. I will get to connect with a boosted Night Slash, and having switch advantage is better than not here, but still, I don't think that was the right play pattern, as I'm about to get swept by a Kyurem. I switch in my Kyurem, but they're actually on Dragon Claw, and Dragon Claw is going to pick up the KO. I can send back in the Swampert. My game starts lagging there, but realistically, the game was already over at this point. So definitely don't throw Trailblazers at Dusknoir, as it is the far worse way to play that matchup. We're now going to move into 2 final matches done much later at night because I quite literally ran out of opponents on ladder. I ended up waiting in queue for, I think it was an hour or 2, and just could not find any Ultra League opponents. So I asked members of my Discord, hey, does anyone want to play some Ultra League battles? So we have a few final battles to round out this video. Guzzlord is a very tricky lead, as Guzzlord is a complete wall to energy from the Shadow Scizor. Here, I'm going to try and play ones, so this way, if my opponent decides they want to give the shield back, I will let the Scizor go in exchange for getting farm on the Kyurem. I really like energy advantage on Kyurem because Draco Meteor is just absolutely absurd neutrally. I do get that farm down. In the back, it's Lapras. This would normally be a nightmare for this back line, but guess what? We have the tech. Draco Meteor, please do not shield it. They do not, and Lapras gets rocked. I farm up, I cannot get to another move. I want to respect a Skull Bash as that would knock me out, but they're not on Skull Bash, instead they reveal Ice Beam. I send in Swampert, in the back is Shadow Dusknoir. This matchup is going to be a bit of an interesting one. My opponent is going to need a Dynamic Punch to KO the Swampert, and a Dynamic Punch for the Kyurem. They have 7 Astonishes of energy right here, so they're 2 off of their double up. This is going to be close, but Swampert wins charge attack priority over that Dusknoir, and that's going to seal it, as Hydro Cannon is going to pick up the knockout. In comes Lapras. There's the combo with the double resisted Glaciate. Glaciate, it's double resisted, but they were very, very low. It still does not take the knockout, but the damage is done, as now Ice Beam cannot pick up the knockout, and I get the farm down and take the win. Hopping into the final match, leading Shadow Scizor into Skeledirge. This is a scenario where not having Dragon Claw is a bit unfortunate, as I'm not able to outpace. I shield up the Shadow Ball, in comes Feraligatr, and to me, this feels like a very obvious shield. So I'm going to go for the Glaciate, and they call the bait. Oh, I should have just gone for the Draco Meteor. That's entirely on me. Now I'm going to go for the Draco Meteor, and this time it lands, picking up the knockout onto Feraligatr. Back in comes Skeledirge. Skeledirge looking for a farm down. Kyurem gets the Draco Meteor, and I didn't see an Incinerate sneak. My opponent may have cap-tied me here, and they did cap-tie me. That's very, very good for me, as now I get my shield back, and I've realigned to put Swampert on the Skeledirge. In the back, there's another Guzzlord, and this is going to be a very tricky game, as Guzzlord has so much HP. They're very, very bulky. It's a very difficult Pokemon for this team to remove from the field of play if it's not aligned onto the Kyurem. In the moment I decided to go for the Trailblaze, I think double Night Slash is actually better, because then I would have gotten more damage overall. But from here, I think the win con is clear. I just need to mudshot everything down with Swampert. I know that the Skeleturge does not have a move bank. Skeleturge is at least one Incinerate away, so if I just commit to a farm down and always make sure that I have 2 moves, then I should just be in a winning position. I'm forced to burn the shield, but this will be the switch into the Skeleturge. I throw the 2 mud shots. I'm already at 100 energy, but I want to guarantee that in case they had more health than I remembered, I could guaranteed take the knockout with the Hydro Cannon, but it turns out they were already in Hydro Cannon range to begin with. So Hydro KOs the Skeleturge, in comes Guzzlord, we get the mud shot down, and that's a good game. All in all, anytime I've played this team this season, I've had very consistent results. I played it towards the end of the first Ultra League rotation, and the team worked amazingly, and now that I see her for the second Ultra League rotation, it worked so well that I quite literally ran out of opponents. As I mentioned, I was sitting in queue for about an hour or two and just could not find any opponents in the Ultra League. Peaked at number 8 on leaderboards with this Ultra League team and ended up getting a 3-2 that lost me 9 elo, which was a bit of an unfortunate experience. But this team, I genuinely think it's really, really good. Shadow Scizor, one of the best leads that you can pick for the Ultra League, just because much like the Great League, it applies so much immediate pressure neutrally. The threat of the Trailblaze boosting up the Bullet Punch is such an incredibly overtuned move, and pairing that with a Pokemon of the attack stat of Scizor, it can really output some serious damage. But what I'm really proud of in these battles is the fact that even in negative leads, this team is still able to bounce back. I felt like a lot of the first games and a lot of the games that I was seeing on ladder, Scizor wasn't necessarily winning the lead. There's a lot of Stunfisks, Empoleon, stuff like that, but it didn't end up mattering because the backline as well is exceedingly strong. I think Swampert is very, very underrated. Sludge, while it's a nice move, let's say in the Great League, for example, where everything is just a little bit lower in terms of bulk in the Ultra League, I do really think that Earthquake is nice. Earthquake shields down is incredible for Swampert as a closer. Whether it's nuking a Galarian Weezing or even a Belly Bolt after it's buffed up its defense, the sheer damage of Earthquake has been clutch in a ton of matchups. And for Kyurem, I know there was a matchup where there was a Kyurem and I got KO'd by a Dragon Claw, but I feel that I made quite a few mistakes in that game, but I think Draco Meteor is the way to go. Draco Meteor is not the moveset that I initially tried on Kyurem, but after trying both, Draco Meteor, once you're able to get shields down, it is so devastating neutrally, even against something like Lapras, which is one of the bulkiest Ultra League Pokemon, allowing Kyurem to have a win condition there by just removing 3/4 of its health bar in one charge attack is incredibly, incredibly nice. So all in all, I'm a huge fan of this team, and I think this team is a winner for this Ultra League meta. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.